Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the 106th episode of the Triboro Podcast. I'm your host, Justin Alonso. As always, we had a Subway series where we were together for the first time in months.
I know.
How you doing, Nicholas O'Brien?
I'm doing good. Fresh off my Jersey trip from yours.
Your
Feeling good.
pilgrimage.
My pilgrimage to Jersey, taking New Jersey Transit for the first time. It was an experience, for sure. Obviously inferior to any New York transportation, but that's neither here nor there. But I'm doing good. My back hurts for some reason,
Probably from
but
the
hey,
jet ski.
whatever.
If I had to bet, that's what I would say.
Maybe, probably, we'll go with that. But Subway series, I like it. I like what I saw. I'm happy, and yeah,
So, do we want to get into the Subway series?
might as well.
So, how do we want to do this? We want to do a game-by-game little basis?
I guess we could. I guess we could.
So, starting with the road team. For the first game, I missed most of this game, as I'm sure a lot of people did, because
So
a lot
did
of
I.
people were
Mhm.
just 4th of July. It was Marcus Stroman
3
versus
o'clock start.
Montas. Yeah, it was weird. The good things with the Yankees. Jason had 2 home runs, and Judge also had a home run. Bellinger had a home run. They had like 20 million home runs.
Yeah.
The bad things. Marcus Stroman putting an 89-mile-an-hour fastball right to the top of the zone for Juan Soto. Do you know what happens
Yes.
when you do that?
I believe he ties the game with a 2-run homer,
Yeah.
and usually that will happen if you place a poor fastball right there.
89-mile-an-hour fastball.
I mean, besides that, I honestly did not think Stroman pitched that poorly.
Yeah.
It was literally just the one mistake pitch. But
My
besides
argument
that,
would be that that's his issue, though. That he gives up too many
yeah,
home runs. So it's not like you say, like,
sure.
oh, one mistake, when it's consistently he makes those mistakes.
Yeah, but I mean, as a what? This is like starter number 6 on the depth chart,
Yeah.
technically. I think you live with that.
Yeah, fair.
Especially when the Mets are on starter number 12 with Justin Hageman starting this game. So, I mean, I think the pitching, well, starting pitching was not the issue for the Yankees in this game.
It was this game that Jeff McNeil hit the home run off Weaver, correct?
Yes, it was.
I will get into this later in the Bronx. Luke Weaver is not right. That being said, Jeff McNeil is one of 5 players on the Mets that absolutely shits down the Yankees' throat. And this may seem like a very small thing, and I'm not going to get on Jason for doing it. But in a 6-5 game, you're down by a run. There's 2 outs, nobody on base. It is a 3-1 count. You cannot do what he did and swing out of the zone.
Yeah.
You can't. With Aaron Judge on deck, you just can't. I saw that, and I'm not going to blame Jason because he had the 2 home runs. He was big.
Yeah.
He gave them the lead twice. So I'm not going to blame him, but that's also a rookie mistake. You cannot. I saw that immediately, and I'm like, I don't care if it's in the zone. Unless it is right down the middle, do not swing. Unless it is literally the perfect pitch for you, just don't swing with Judge on deck, especially with him having success against. It was Garrett pitching, right?
It was Garrett,
with
for
him
a second
having
inning.
success against Reed Garrett.
So yeah, no, definitely. And yeah, shout out to Reed Garrett, since we kind of mentioned it. 2-inning save when the bullpen was absolutely toast. I mean, this was basically a bullpen game. Justin Hageman pitched well. I think he gave up 3 runs in like 4 innings. I'm gonna double check that right now. But Reed Garrett coming out for a 2-inning save was absolutely huge for the Mets. And yeah, I mean, to your point, I think when you have a guy for a 2-inning save and also a guy who's been struggling as of late, you just can't give him like not a freebie, but you can't kind of bail him out.
Yeah.
There.
Because the pitch was outside of the zone. It was very clearly outside of the zone. It would have been ball 4.
Yes, absolutely. But going back to Hageman, 4 1/3, 5 hits, 4 runs, no walks, 5 strikeouts. I think he looked good. He is probably a guy, again, something like this where the Mets are in a pinch and they need him to pitch. I'd be pretty comfortable if he can give you, 4 innings, 3 runs, 5 innings, 4 runs. I think that's good. And all of these runs were on, no, maybe only one. 3 out of the 4 runs were home runs because it was Dominguez solo shot, Judge solo shot. I'm pretty sure Bellinger was also
Bellinger had a solo shot.
Yeah, so I forget where that other run came from, but 3 out of the 4 runs came off of home runs. That was his problem in the minors as well, so that's probably not something.
Did he pitch the 5th inning? Did you say that?
Yeah, he started the 5th, and then they took him out.
Okay, so what it was is he probably let up a run or let up a base runner because Dominguez had a 2-run
Most
home
likely.
run. So it was probably that first base runner.
Yes, it was probably the base runner. Yeah, you're right. But,
so technically all 4 were off of a home run. But
technically, yeah. But, yeah, I mean, just for the Mets to scrap this game with Justin Hageman for 4 1/3, Austin Warren for an inning and 2/3, Bronzabon for an inning, and then Reed Garrett for 2 innings. I mean, holy crap. Like, shout out to the pitching staff for keeping it close. Like, I mean, you still let up, 5 runs? So it's not a fantastic game. But, I mean, after Justin Hageman, you let up no runs. Austin Warren let up, 4 base runners. And then then Bronzabon, 1 walk, so 1 base runner. And then Garrett in 2 innings allowed just 1 base runner as well. So after Justin Hageman came out in the 5th inning, the Yankees just had 6 base runners the rest of the game.
Yeah.
And then the Yankees bullpen is
in a bad spot. Very bad spot.
Ian Hamilton does not look good. Like you said before, Luke Weaver does not look good. Yeah, Luke Weaver does not look good at all. Just tried to, I think it was a fastball to McNeil, just trying to sneak one down in the zone into his wheelhouse. I mean, the fastball, sure, but that's got to be up to someone like Jeff McNeil. This guy plays golf. He can swing, right? And for a guy who doesn't hit a lot of home runs, I know his kind of approach has changed into more of a power approach, but he still doesn't hit a lot of home runs. And when he does, more often than not, it's low in the zone. And trying to throw a fastball low, I don't know if it was a missed spot. I'm assuming it was because it was just a poor executed pitch all around. But throwing him that pitch in that spot, yeah, something ain't right.
Yeah, I will get into it again. I said in the Bronx, but it was a 6 to 8 week timetable. He came back in 3 weeks without a rehab appearance.
Right, and it was hamstring. Right? Yeah.
Hamstring.
So, yeah, not great. But I mean, again, the Yankees, the offense was not the issue. I mean,
as it has not been this entire week.
Right. You maybe wish they could scratch out a few more runs off of, someone like Austin Warren. But you had the lead 3 times?
Mm-hmm.
Or it was at least
twice.
Tied.
You had the lead twice.
Yeah. Right. Lead twice. It was
Bellinger
tied.
Hit the home run to tie it.
Tie it. Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, that was basically game 1. Jeff McNeil was the big decider, and then Reed Garrett just really dug deep for 2 innings there to save the Mets some interesting pitching decisions, I'm sure, would have been if Reed Garrett didn't pitch those 2 innings. But that was a 6-5 Mets win in game 1.
Game 2, I don't have the exact numbers on this, but they said it on the broadcast, and this was when Carlos Rodon was about 80 pitches. How many of those pitch-ups do you think were change-ups?
2.
9.
Yeah.
I forget if it was change-up or curveball, whatever it was. That being said, he was primarily fastball slider. What have we been saying for the longest time about Carlos Rodon? Bad,
Carlos, bad.
So I don't know if it's a thing of the mix wasn't right, because this was another game I didn't see the entirety of the game because I was picking up a certain somebody at the train station. But yeah, just bad.
I think the biggest thing, I mean, obviously the grand slam in the first inning is what really
he really did have just one bad inning when you think about it.
And I think it's just all mental. Like, Carlos Rodon is one of the most mental pitchers. He's up there with Framber, I think. I mean, Framber's in a league of his own. But so the game starts off with a Starling Marte kind of not like a bloop double, but it gets between Dominguez.
Kind of.
Yeah, it gets between Dominguez and Grisham, where it looks like Grisham kind of let up because he thought Dominguez was going to get to it, and then Dominguez doesn't get to it. And by the way, I know we've been talking how bad he is in left field, but actually watching it, I do not think the numbers do justice how bad Jason Dominguez is in left field. But besides that, it kind of just gets down in between them. Starling Marte gets on second with a double. I don't know if Yes showed it, but SNY showed it. Rodon then does one of hands up, kind of like what the fuck is going on, and then from there, he's miss spot, walk, miss spot, and then he hangs a slider to Brandon Nimmo, grand slam, and boom, there you go.
Yeah, that's his. He just gets in his head too much. He has all the stuff in the world to succeed.
Mm-hmm.
He has all the stuff in the world to be a perennial top 5 Cy Young candidate.
Yep.
But he just gets in his head too much.
Yeah. And the thing too is the pitch before the grand slam was a really good slider. Really good slider, Brandon Nimmo. And then I think he just tries to go to it again and he just hangs it. So, and I mean, if you just look at the pitch by pitch, I mean, he went slider, sinker, slider, slider to Brandon Nimmo.
Yeah.
I think you just got to change it up. Maybe try to throw a fastball up and into Nimmo on what that would have been. Yeah, 2-1. Just, I mean, 1-2, whatever.
Or, maybe that change up. Maybe that curveball.
Change up, right. Exactly. Or honestly, the curve too, kind of to play off the slider.
Mm-hmm.
That probably would have worked out as good as well. But yeah, just hangs the slider and Mets are up 4-0 in the bottom of the first.
Yeah. And then it was one of those games where the Yankees started coming back. Once they started coming back, the Mets pulled away. Where at one point, this was I believe, 2-run game. At one point, no, 1-run game, yeah. At one point, this was a 6-7 game, yeah. In the 7th inning, it was a 6-7 game.
Oh, yeah. You're right.
And you push Scott Efros for a 2nd inning. You push Javen Sandbridge making his MLB debut. And what do you expect happens? They give up 5 runs. And...
Yeah. From the moment he left Efros in for the 2nd inning, I'm like, thank you. What I don't understand what Boone was trying to do there. Because at that point that was in the 6th inning. So it was.
He came out for the 7th inning. Oh. He came back out for the 7th inning.
Right. So that would have been a 7-4 game, if I'm doing my math correctly. I think at the time he pushed him for the 2nd inning. Which, I mean, it's not a blowout.
No, it was a 6-7 game. I'm pretty sure.
At that point?
Hold on, I'm looking at the runs.
Wrong. Let's see. Mets have 5.
Yeah.
Then 7.
It was a 6-7 game.
1, 2, 4.
No, 5-7, 5-7, 5-7.
Yeah. So 2-run game. Even still, point is, it was not a blowout. It was not away yet.
No.
This was a winnable game for the Yankees.
Especially without the offense has been hitting over the last week. Because in Toronto, they were hitting the cover off the ball. That was not the issue.
Right. I mean, all 3 of these games, the Yankees scored at least 6 runs. They scored 6 runs in every single.
No, the first game they scored 5.
Oh, you're right. You're right. They scored 5.
But they scored 6. They scored 6 in the other 2.
Yeah, but weird bullpen management. I just, especially for Sandridge? Yeah, for Sandridge to come in, major league debut, right?
Yeah.
To face Juan Soto and then Pete Alonso,
as a lefty, it just makes no sense.
I also don't get it. Sure, lefty matchup, cool, but when it's someone like Juan Soto, where it really does not matter, I don't understand why you're not using your best reliever at that point. I mean, I'm not sure who that would have been.
Maybe not best, but a high leverage guy.
Right. Maybe Mark Leiter.
Yeah.
Right. Not someone coming in for their major league debut. Just doesn't make sense. But on the Mets side of things, Frankie Montas pitched really well. He kind of got a little screwed at the end, a lot of kind of dink and doinks, but that's baseball. All in all, he went 5 2/3, 5 hits, 4 runs, and 2 strikeouts. I think 2 of those runs came in the 6th inning. Yeah, 2 of the runs came in the 6th inning. Before that, he just allowed 2 solo shots. So he looked better. His velocity looked a lot better. He said in Pittsburgh he was tipping his pitches. Not sure, maybe he was actually. I'm not sure how true that is, but he said he was tipping and he fixed the problem. and he pitched much better. The velo was up by like almost a tick. He was averaging like 96, and he kind of just used a little bit of everything. 25% fastball, 22% splitter, 18 slider, 17 cutter, 13 sinker, 5 sweeper, kind of just tossing a little bit of everything to the Yankees. And he looked better. Again, if he is kind of your 4th or 5th starter, and he's going 5, 6 innings, giving up 3, 4 runs, I think you live with that. But at this rate, you just kind of want him to get into a groove, and hopefully this can get him settled in after a pretty bad start in Pittsburgh. But again, he looked much better. I'm pretty pleased with how he pitched as well. And then, yeah, after that, it was another kind of patch job for the Mets. It was Dickie Lovelady for an inning, Chris Davinsky for a third of an inning, Stanek for an inning, then Diaz for an inning. Stanek throwing 40 pitches, by the way. Okay. I mean, he wasn't used Sunday, and you have the off day Monday, but holy crap. Didn't love it.
We also forgot to mention that Diaz pitched in this game, too.
Yes. In a game that was a 12-6 final, Diaz did pitch, which is like, whatever. Mendoza said after the game that he was already hot because he was up earlier. So, like, he just, whatever. He didn't pitch Sunday, or he did.
No.
There was no spot for him to really pitch Sunday, and again, the off day Monday, so it's kind of like, whatever. You kind of just throw it. But yeah, just another kind of weird game. Just, I don't know, the pitching all series. Maybe it's just because the Mets were kind of just like patching it together. Was just super weird. But yeah, 12-6 win for the Mets. It was never really like, I got maybe in the 6th inning where they scored 2 runs off the off Montas. I was kind of like, here it goes. Like, here's the rug being pulled. But after that, it's like, oh, okay.
Yeah.
Mets won.
2 things I forgot to mention about the Yankees. 1, this had the trend of having Jazz at third, Oswald Peraza at second. Boone did say they're moving Jazz back to second. But yes, I will get more on him in the Bronx. Just trust me. Just you wait. And also Jason Dominguez having 2 home runs in the game before in leadoff, and then moving back down to 6th spot.
Yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
It made no sense to me. But anyways, game 3. This game was a weird one, I guess you could say.
This was a punt game. This was a Mets punt game. I mean, there's really no other way to put it.
It felt like a punt game for the Yankees, too, at some points.
I guess.
Where it's just, I forgot to mention the thing with Volpe hitting Judge in the eye, by the way.
Yes, that also happens.
All I'm saying is Volpe is so lucky that wasn't anything serious. That's all I got to say on that. Very unfortunate. Clearly was not intentional. He is very lucky that was not anything serious, because you think it's bad now. But yeah, Fried, he was okay, solid. I guess you could say 5 innings, 3 runs, 6 hits. He didn't really have anything special, because they showed a thing on the Yes broadcast where in the postgame that he threw 8 pitches. On 4 of them, he gave up 1 hit. On the slider, he gave up 2 hits.
Right.
So it's kind of one of those things where he didn't really have anything especially working.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
He wasn't really fooling anybody.
Yeah, kind of didn't have his A stuff did not have he kind of had like his B- for every single pitch.
Yeah.
But for Fried, he was able to gut through it, able to go 5 innings, 3 runs. That's all the Yankees really did end up needing. So not really going to complain about that at the end of the day, because I think he also did go back out there for the 6th inning.
Yeah, he started the 6th. I think he hit Brandon Nimmo on like the first pitch, and then they took him out.
Yeah, which is cool.
Whatever.
I think kind of the biggest storyline or 2 big storylines. Austin Wells going back-to-back games with a home run. And then huge. The other one was that insane play by Cody Bellinger, where it's a shoestring grab to that Soto ropes the ball. He grabs the ball, then throws a 90-mile-an-hour hose across the field to first base to get Lindor out on a double play.
Yeah.
That probably
just an absolutely insane play.
That probably won them the game. That probably
absolutely.
With how things have been going, that won them the game.
with the way Bellinger was coming in on it, like maybe a step behind, like, or a step forward, that ball gets past him.
That's probably a triple.
Right. And scores Lindor, I think that would have made it a 1-run game, if I'm not wrong, at that point. And then that would have another guy with Soto and with runners in scoring position
with
no
outs.
outs.
No outs, yeah.
Right. So Bellinger definitely saved the game right then and there. If I cared about this game, I would be extremely pissed. But you win some, you lose some. You started Chris Davinsky, Zach Pop, and Brandon Waddell in this game. So whatever.
This was one of those games the Yankees had to win a lot more than the Mets.
Yes, absolutely.
So.
This was, I mean, a lot of people said it on Twitter, which I think it just puts it well. Like, this was a gravy game for the Mets. Like, where their pitching was, you already won the series. Your pitching is absolutely toast. Like, if you could somehow squeak this game out, which they almost did, it was a 2-run game.
Yeah,
if you can squeak this one out, great.
At one point.
Yeah, you're right. Yeah. If you squeak it out, great. If not, you move on to the next one.
Yeah. And just Devin Williams, clean, 9th inning. Good. Keep doing it.
Little helpful calls, but whatever.
Yeah, whatever.
The umps were pretty rough.
They were
entire
pretty
series.
bad today, yeah. Or today, I meant that game on Sunday. I said it when the Yankees won the Subway Series in the Bronx. It's a fun series. It's cool. You have the whole thing because of Soto, Judge, whatever, yada, yada, yada.
Yada, yada.
It does not matter in the grand scheme of things except for the win-loss. It's not.
Yeah.
I said it again, I would much rather the Yankees have won the series in Toronto and then get swept out of Queens.
Right.
Of course, neither thing happened. But, yeah, fun Subway Series. Wish I could have saw more of the games. That's probably part of the reason I'm not as mad. Because I just didn't watch a lot of it because I was so busy. But, yeah. That's all I really had at the end of the day for the Subway Series because I have a lot to talk about in the Bronx.
Yeah, there's a lot more to take for the individual teams than kind of like the Subway Series in general. I do like the fact they played July 4th weekend, but going through July 4th weekend with these games is very tough to kind of find time to watch them.
Yeah.
Like, unless you're at kind of like a July 4th party where there's people who want to watch the game or have the game on. Like, I was out somewhere else just kind of every once in a while checking my phone to see what's going on. Very tough to watch these games on like a holiday weekend, but whatever.
I was with a bunch of people that just don't watch baseball.
Yeah,
that just don't watch sports.
If you're not around people who watch the sport, it's kind of like, all right, well, watch on your phone or like follow along on your phone, so whatever. But yeah, this was the most scripted season series split ever.
It's every year. It's every year.
Yeah, besides last year.
Yeah, doesn't count.
But yeah, Yankees win 3. They win the series at Yankee Stadium. Mets win 3. They win the series at Citi Field. Shocker.
Cool.
Absolutely shocker. But yeah, I mean, good for bragging rights, but whatever. I guess.
Yeah.
It's a split, so really there is no bragging rights.
I was going to say, you could brag about this series, and I'll say, yeah, we split you, or we took the series earlier in the year. I really don't care.
All I will say is the Yankees lost the game where Justin Hageman started.
I don't care.
That's all. That's it. But yeah, that's all I had for the Subway Series. If we kind of just want to get into the nitty gritty with these teams,
I'll get right into the Bronx.
Now entering the Bronx.
Hello, everybody, and welcome back into the Bronx. So, horrendous week. No sugarcoating it. You played 7 games. You won 1. You barely won that game. Of course, before anything, your injury update brought to you by Triboro MD, because this goes a lot into it. So, I'll start with Fernando Cruz. He has a left oblique strain. He's expected back sometime in August. The way that they're saying it, it probably sounds closer to September than August. But the big one, by far, is that Clark Schmidt, he will undergo Tommy John surgery. He didn't feel like he was bouncing back, recovering 100% after the last couple starts, left with forearm tightness, the worst thing you could hear. Everyone, and myself included, was getting on the Yankees for like, oh, how are you still playing? Why aren't you getting testing done? Because I thought it was a thing of just send him in for testing. Chris Kirshner from the Athletic had a really good tweet where he kind of like went into it, and he said teams cannot just send their players back or send their players in for MRIs and CT scans of the players' passing tests, protocols, and nothing seems urgent. It's also especially difficult due to the players also saying he's fine. Clark was experiencing slow bounce backs, but he was still able to pitch and did so exceedingly well. So for both sides, the team and player had no reason to believe anything was wrong until it happened in game. And he gave like a couple other examples where like with Rizzo, where like if he's saying he's fine, they can't just toss him in for like that stuff.
Right.
Same thing with Severino, where he was a batting practice pitcher, and he kept saying he was fine, but they couldn't send him in for an MRI because he wasn't performing well.
Yep.
I still feel like this should be a different situation, though. When he's saying he's not really bouncing back well, like you're telling me you didn't feel that forearm tightness at all?
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean...
Especially for a guy that's gotten Tommy John in the past, too, when he was in college. So it's not like he's never gone through it before. It's not like he doesn't know what it feels like.
Yeah, I mean, again, kind of like to Kershner's point, like you can't really force a player to get tested or do anything. So it's kind of like it's up to the player. But yeah, it's obviously pretty frustrating for the Yankees and obviously Schmidt himself. And yeah, I mean, this just sucks, honestly. Like, there's no really other way to put it. It just sucks. And that's just the way of the pitcher nowadays. You can't really avoid it all that much.
Yeah. And so he's going to be out, obviously, the rest of this year. Most likely all of next year, unless...
Yeah.
The only reason I would say he may come back next year is because I feel like they've come so far with Tommy John where I've been seeing a lot of timetables being closer to 12, 13 months.
Yeah.
So you don't know how the surgery goes. You don't know the bracing. You don't know. Because like they said, Garrett Cole, they think may only be a 12, 13 month thing.
Right. Yeah. And there's also like the internal brace procedure, which is a shorter recovery time than regular Tommy John. But Jacob deGrom got Tommy John in, what was that, 2023 in June. And he came back in like September of 24.
Yeah.
So, yeah. But again, like you said, it kind of depends on the recovery. If there's any like scar tissue, sometimes you need to go back in there, like get rid of scar tissue and stuff like that. And then obviously the rehab process and yada, yada, yada.
Because I look to like ACLs and stuff in the NFL where it used to be a thing of if you tore your ACL, call it like week 7, you're done for that year and you're most likely done for next year. But now if you tear your ACL in like week 6, 7, you may be ready for like the start of week 1 next year.
Right. Yeah.
So it's kind of one of those things of they've come so far over the last couple of years with these type of surgeries that and like ligaments that I wouldn't be surprised if it's closer to 12 months, but you also cannot bank on him being there next year. You cannot.
Yeah, for sure.
He should not be in your plans for next year.
He's gravy.
Yeah, best way to put it. But and the corresponding move, because obviously you need someone to take his rotation spot, is Cam Schlittler. I'm going to butcher that name every time I say it. He will start on Wednesday, second game against the Mariners. I'll kind of get into him when we go to like the look ahead, because now this is where my Aaron Boone rant starts. Jazz Chisholm is also on here with right shoulder discomfort. He said that it's fine when he's hitting, it doesn't hurt when he's hitting, but it's bad when he throws. Jazz Chisholm, the man who is not a good third baseman, is a very good second baseman, is feeling pain when he's throwing. I think it's never been explicitly said, but it's a thing of if you're throwing from third, you have to put so much more damn force on that ball that he probably didn't realize how much you have to do and how much it's going to mess up your shoulder. So a guy that cannot play at third base, you're forcing him to play third base, and this happens. Granted, they did just say today, Boone came out and said on the Talking Yanks that Jazz will move back to second base. But, dude, come on. Like, are you kidding me?
It's such a bad look.
Especially considering because Jazz Chisholm, before this was announced, Jazz Chisholm may be the starter for the at second base for the All-Star game.
No, I know. Like, I want to say kind of sounds worse than it probably is.
Bad optics,
Like, I
though.
think, yeah, it's definitely bad optics. No way around that. But, like, I do feel it does sound a little worse than it actually is. Like, if he went on maybe the IL with, like, shoulder soreness, then okay.
Yeah.
But if it's kind of just, like, bothering him, it's like, all right, this is kind of just like a wake-up call kind of thing.
Yeah.
It's like, all right, enough of this.
Well,
Moving
it's
back to
also a thing
second.
of he didn't play because of it.
Right. No, I know. Yeah, he missed Sunday's game
He missed
because of
Sunday's
it,
game,
but
a game where you will have lost 6 games in a row. You need to win that 7th game.
yeah,
And
yeah. So, yikes. But hopefully it kind of just subsides
double
and
off
the move
day
back.
helps.
Right. Move back to second base, shorter throw, hopefully just a lot of underhand throws too with second base. Like a lot of, like
Yeah.
tosses for double plays. Only if he's like on the second to first side of a double play if he's kind of slinging it. But hopefully that should
Yeah.
kind
And
of
just
calm down.
because a lot of my notes throughout the week were, because there were like 3 or 4 games this week where Jazz started at third, Peraza at second. Same thing with DJ at second. But then when DJ was playing, Peraza would go to third. And there was one of the games where it was DJ, or where it was Peraza and Jazz. Boone said, "Oh, I kind of just don't want to like mix them up that much, or like move them
Right.
around that much." So you're catering to 99-year-old DJ LeMahieu, because Jazz at second base, 3 outs above average, 3 defensive run saved. At third base, complete opposite, -3 and -3.
Yeah.
Peraza at third base, 4 defensive run saves, 2 outs above average. Great as a positive defender. Jazz positive defender at second. Let's flip them.
Yeah.
Makes no sense. Peraza plays a solid second base. That's not necessarily the issue. And my thing has always been, you have a star player in Jazz Chisholm. He is probably the third most important player on this team right now. Why are you catering to a guy that shouldn't even be on your team when you should cater around your stars? You should cater around your superstars, like how, I don't know, when Juan Soto was in right field last year for the Yankees, they catered the rest of the outfield around that because you kind of have to. So It makes no sense to me, especially when DJ's an absolute nothing burger. Where do I want to go from here? Because there's so many different ways I could go. Where the lineup decision is just another little more icing on the cake. I believe it was the 3rd game in Toronto where you had take out the pitcher, so you have 8 fielders. You had 4 guys playing out of their natural positions, with Dominguez in left field, Ben Rice at first base, Jazz at third, Peraza at second. That is half of your defensive alignment being out of position. What?
Yeah.
That's horrible.
Yeah. It's just, it's kind of mind-boggling at this point how this has gone on for so long. It's just, I'm not sure, like, what the thinking is behind that. I think, I don't know. I think outfield kind of alignment is whatever, because usually guys can pretty much play, like, almost every position. Only if you're, like, a kind of only a corner guy, maybe you can't really play center field. But, like, for the most part, it kind of just, like,
I will say, though,
kind
a lot of center fielders that move to the corner say it's not nearly as easy a transition as people think.
Right.
Like, I know Harrison Bader said the same thing, where he said, like, no, it's a tough transition going to the corners.
Yeah, I mean, look at, like, Jarren Duran this year. I think he was, like, a plus defender in center field last year. He's playing mostly left field this year, and he's, like, awful.
Yeah. He's made a couple of insane catches just off pure, like, athleticism.
Right. But, yeah, just to further my point. 8 outs above average in center field last year, -5 in left field this year.
And half
so, like, a
time.
13-point swing. Yeah.
So that just needs to change. They got to do something, like, better. Yeah. But the big thing that people are calling the Boone swoon is that every year the Yankees go on this horrendous losing streak. The Yankees were 42-25. They are now 49-41. They went, what is that, 7-16. Yeah, you lost the lead. You were in 3rd place, I think, for a hot second. And you look at, this is a tweet from @YankeesSlight. So, because a lot of people are saying, like, oh, it's a normal part of the game, whatever, yada, yada, bullshit. So, you look at between 2020 to 2024, there are 41 teams that not the Yankees to win 90 games, or 2020 was like the winning percentage of 90 games. The Yankees went 4-15. 0 teams that would have won 90 game went on a worse stretch. Same or worse stretch. 2021, they went 10-22. Number of 90-win teams with an equivalent or worse stretch, 0. 2022, Yankees worst stretch, 10-17. Number of 90-win teams with equivalent or worse stretch, 3. 2023, Yankees worst stretch, 12-21. Number of 90-win teams with equivalent or worse stretch, 2. 2024, Yankees worst stretch, 12-24. Number of 90-win teams with equivalent or worse stretch, 0. You want to know the thing too? None of those teams repeated. It was all different teams every year.
Right.
It is not a part of the season. The Yankees have done a stretch 5 times that has only been repeated. That has only happened 10 times, with you being the only team that's done it multiple times, you being responsible for 50% of them.
I do think I'll push back on that like a smidge. I think 5% maybe is like, yes, that's baseball. It happens. The other 95% are the Yankees getting in their own way.
I will obviously there is the thing of that's baseball. I will give you that.
Right. Yeah, like a smidge.
Yeah.
A smidge. Not to this point.
Not an excusable amount.
Right. Not, what was it? 10-14 or whatever it was, or like 14-20, whatever.
4-15, like, 10-22, 10-17, 12-21, 12-24, and now they are, I believe, 7-16.
Yeah, like the 12 and 21.
It was 6-16 until yesterday.
Right, like that 12 and 21 stretch, awful. I'm sure some of that is baseball, some of that is just bad performance. Your players aren't playing, and your manager's kind of not really doing much. But yeah, I mean, I mentioned this at the beginning of the season, kind of like this is how the Yankees function. It's always you start hot. Oh my God, we're in first place. This is the year. We're great. June, we're kind of just like the middle of the season. It just comes crashing down, and they kind of play 500 baseball the rest of the way. But they're always in the playoffs because the American League sucks. And they're also lucky that a lot of playoff teams also suck this year. Like the Guardians, I don't know what the fuck they're doing. The Royals can't hit for shit. Twins still suck. The Mariners are still kind of like in limbo. The Rangers are absolutely horrible. Like, it's the American League East, the Tigers, the Astros. Everything else is up for grabs.
I would push back, though. Because you said, like, the playoff teams, you just listed off, I think, 5 teams. Outside of the Rangers, none of those teams spend money.
I guess. But
you know what I mean? So it's a thing of when you have the second, third highest pay. I don't like to use, like, the payroll, use it as this, you're spending. But when you spend this much money, and you have this horrendous of stretches, and you have a manager saying, like, yeah, it's fine. It's fine. It's like, it's not a big deal.
They're the best team in baseball, by the way.
Yeah, they're the best team in baseball. Where you do need that confidence, but you don't come out and say that.
Time and a place.
Time and a place. Like, that's horrible to say that, and it's just...
You can be supportive and positive, and outlandish is a little hyperbolic, but calling yourself the best team in baseball when you've had such a horrendous stretch and you've fallen out of first place and you lost 4 games to a division rival, come on. That's like Carlos Mendoza going to the Mets after the sweep in Pittsburgh, being like, hey, we're still the best team in baseball.
That was the first time...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, that was the first time in team history they got swept in Toronto.
I did see
that.
In
a 4-game set.
Yeah. But it's, again, time and a place. You can be supportive, you can be positive, but you also have to be realistic. You can't just, like, fill these guys' egos to a point and kind of just, like, pump them up. Like, be realistic. Like, hey, we haven't played well. We are better than this. We can be the best team in baseball, but we're not right now. Like, I feel like that would have been a better wording. And maybe that's what he meant, but still. Coming out and kind of being, hey, we're the best team in baseball.
I don't think it was, because that's what this is the type of shit that he says every time.
No, it's right in front of us.
Oh.
Right in front of us.
It's just so infuriating, because people are, like, posting a clip about Jeter, And I will say Judge has been saying the same type of stuff like, oh, we're good. This is just baseball, whatever. There's a clip of Jeter that's circulating where he's like, yeah, we're not playing well. It's the hitting, it's the pitching, it's the fielding. It's all of us. We need to play better. That's all you have to say. We all need to be better. It's baseball. The bad stretch. We all need to be better. That's all you have to say. That's all you have to say.
I also think like someone like Francisco Lindor does a great job at this, where when the Mets were going through basically the same stretch the Yankees were going through, they asked him about the team, the performance, but he always kind of flipped it on himself. It's kind of like, well, the team can't score runs if your leadoff hitter isn't getting on base.
That's the old adage of when things are going well, it's the team. When things are going bad, it's you. Right. For like how to talk to the media. So.
Yeah, so I think if maybe Judge kind of did one of those, because I mean, he had like a little stretch in there where he was kind of like, all right, Aaron Judge needs to do something.
All right, let me just say this. The fact that Aaron Judge had a 2-week span where he had, I believe it was about an 850 OPS, and people are saying that he's done, that just goes to show the level
ridiculous
of how insane Aaron Judge is. He hit like 450 over the last week with 4 home runs, so I'm not concerned about him anymore. But
He should have never been.
No. If you were,
should have never been.
It was more of an annoyance than anything else. Where it's like, all right, come on, come on,
do something.
We know, come on, like this something. We know you could do it. Just wake up.
It.
More than like actual concern, but
yeah, for sure. But yeah, it's just it's been a really tough stretch. I mean, there's really no other way to put it. Like between the games and just kind of like the comments afterwards, as a fan, it frustrates you. And I think from a team perspective, I think you don't have to go about it that way. But like it is a lot of just PR kind of just like, yeah, we're fine, don't worry about it, blah blah blah. But like as a fan, I mean, obviously both of these teams have been struggling for the past 3 weeks, so I get it. Yeah. It's just kind of like I want one of you to just say you suck. Kind of like say you're bad because we know right now you are bad. Not that you're going to be bad for the rest of the year, but you suck right now. Just say it. It's okay.
Yeah.
But they're never going to. And again, that's just PR.
And it's so stupid because it's one thing that the comments, the lineup construction is horrible because that's not even talking about how like Ben Rice is just not playing.
Yeah.
He's just barely in the lineup whatsoever. How Cody Bellinger is not, he's starting a decent bit. Dominguez is getting shuffled around. And the thing, like, Dominguez, I think it since like June 1st, he's hitting like 320 or something along those lines. Like, he's popping off. And there was an at-bat in Toronto that I really highlighted where he went down 0-2 in the count, worked the count, hits the ball at the middle to knock in 2 runs in the second game in Toronto. That's the type of stuff we're seeing from him now, where he's getting behind at-bats, he's having professional at-bats. And he's learning from his mistakes earlier in the bat. Because I guarantee you, if he's ever in a 3-1 count again in the top of the 9th inning with 2 outs, Aaron Judge behind him, he's not swinging at a ball out of the zone again. Because he's going to learn from it and realize how big of a mistake it was.
Yeah.
I love him in the leadoff spot. I love the idea. I've been saying that before the season started that I would love him long-term if he could get there.
Yeah.
I hate that it's his righty-lefty, but I get not wanting to lead him off against a lefty. I get that. Yeah. But this insistence on leading off Paul Goldschmidt against a lefty, I just do not like, because then you have to have Aaron Judge hit third. And I've always said Aaron Judge is such a better 2-hole hitter. I've said that so many times. I want Aaron Judge to get as many at-bats as humanly possible, especially because the third spot in the lineup has the most times in MLB where you come on with 2 outs and nobody on.
Yep.
So, infuriating.
Yeah. Absolutely. I think the whole Paul Goldschmidt leadoff thing is just, it's July and we're still doing this. Like, earlier on, it's kind of like, okay, let's get crazy. Like, yeah, whatever. And that was also when
it was working.
Paul Goldschmidt was really hitting. And now he's like, okay.
I will say on Goldie, though, he hasn't been hitting well, but his expected weighted on base is still like 360, 370, or the stretch that he hasn't been hitting well.
Right.
So I think the approach is still there. That's something that the underlying numbers have gotten. It's baseball. The underlying numbers get better while you play worse.
Yes.
So I'm confident in Goldschmidt turning it around. But that being said, he's not hitting right now. So don't put him in leadoff. It's not that hard.
Yeah. And I think the other thing, too, is we got to start getting to a discussion where it's a strict platoon.
Yeah.
I think that warrants a lot of discussion. I mean, Paul Goldschmidt this year against righties has a 72 weighted runs created plus, a 611 OPS, and then against lefties he's Aaron Judge, a 232 weighted runs created plus, a 1200 OPS. Ben Rice is right there. To your point, Justin, that he's just not playing. Ben Rice is right there. Platoon them.
Yeah.
Paul Goldschmidt has not been hitting righties all year. This isn't like a new thing. Platoon them. Like, look what I don't want to say this because like it takes a very specific team, but look at what the Tigers are doing. They have so many guys that play multiple positions, and they like platoon the shit out of their roster. They maximize their roster. I don't think the Yankees are maximizing their roster.
They're not. And it truly is a thing of, I think their versatility is hurting them. Honestly, because they have so many guys that can play so many different places. Because I don't think they have a set plan for Ben Rice at catcher. They don't have a set plan for him at DH. They don't have a set plan for him at first base. They don't have it. Like, I get it if you don't want him to start every day against lefties, especially because especially when there's a lefty on the mound, he should not take Goldschmidt or Stanton out of the lineup. That's just something. Maybe you get him a day at catcher, whatever, this, that.
Right.
But when there's a righty on the mound, Goldschmidt and Stanton both should not be starting over him. I think that's just straight up. So it's a thing of, you have the lineup decisions, whether that be construction, who's in and out. You have this boon swoon that people are calling every single year. Doesn't hold people accountable. And you can make an argument, who knows if maybe he's rushed Luke Weaver back to. Where Luke Weaver has given up more home runs since he's come back in like 3 innings than he did before he got on the IL. And it seems like he's put into big spot after big spot after big spot. He clearly was just back way too soon. And again, I don't know what you're going to do. I don't think he gets fired. I think he stays. But like, what the fuck?
It's just, it gets to a point where it's like, again, like you mentioned earlier, it's every single year that something like this happens.
Yeah.
And it's just like, to what point is it kind of like, enough's enough? Like, again, I'm not calling for him to be fired. I honestly think he does get a little overhated. But I said this maybe a year or two ago about Dave Roberts on the Dodgers. Yes, you've been here for so long. Yes, you've been to the playoffs every single year. And up until last year, you haven't won a World Series, if you want to count 2020.
I was going to say the bubble ring.
Right, if you want to mention that. But it gets to a point where, like, it doesn't seem like he's hurting the team, but like it doesn't also seem like he's helping at all. I may disagree on the hurting, just because it feels like there's points in the season where they just don't show up to big series. They just are not there. They go through these horrid 2-month stretches, and there's no accountability to make them try and bounce back. They kind of just lay over and die. There's nobody getting benched. There's nobody doing this. Like Oswald Peraza. No accountability.
Oswald Peraza, I don't know if you know this, has the worst qualified batting average in baseball. And he's starting 3 games a week.
He's just not a good hitter. I mean,
he's a solid fielder.
Right.
But not a good hitter whatsoever. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's the only other thing, like the only other pushback is kind of like, all right, sure, fire Boone.
Who do you hire?
And what?
I've seen so many people.
Always gonna be the thing.
I've seen so many people say Matt Blake. I do not want Matt Blake to be the manager. I've said this countless times because I get very worried when you bring a guy who is very specialized in one aspect of the game and make them the manager. Because they this is, obviously it's to a bigger extent in football. That's always the example that I use. I always get very concerned when you make a guy care about everything, because when they have to pay attention to everything, then the thing that they were elite at is going to get hurt. And who even says that he knows how to make lineups? He knows lineup construction. You know what I mean? So.
Yeah, definitely. So all you can do right now is just kind of like hands up.
Yeah.
You just got to play better. And I do think it starts with maximizing the roster.
Yeah.
Like it's, platooning Goldschmidt and Rice. It's maybe sitting Bellinger against righties. He hasn't hit righties all year. I know, obviously, defensively, he's a plus out there, but maybe Dominguez should be taking some time against righties that Bellinger's playing.
Yeah.
And obviously, you got to figure out the, well, it's now going to be third base since Jazz is moving to second, but now you got to figure out the third base issue.
Yeah.
But
and I just wanted to mention Volpe really quickly because
yeah, I think we have to.
We have to. It's been really bad. I don't have exact numbers on it. He's been a very, very bad hitter. And there was something I saw one person talk about, but no one else really has talked about, is you go all the way back to June 6th when they were playing Boston. Walker Buehler hits him in the elbow, and he seemed like he was in a lot of pain, didn't play the next day because of it. And you look at his metrics since that day, they have all just gone downhill. So my question is that a thing that's still affecting him? Or, because now he's wearing an elbow guard. Is it a thing of he just cannot use his swing with that? Yeah. So, because I'm also a thing of, until they have someone that's better than Anthony Volpe, I'm not even really going to talk about the idea of replacing him, because you have no one that's even remotely close that can replace him. If George Lombard is in AAA and he is absolutely roasting the cover off the ball, then I'm ready to have that discussion. But until someone gets to a point where they can replace him, I'm not going to really go into a discussion that's pointless. That's why I don't really yell at the top of my lungs to fire Boone, because I know it's not going to happen.
Yeah. When it comes to Volpe, I think obviously the biggest thing is, look, he's never really been a good hitter. Like, that's kind of just like his career at this point. His saving grace was defense, but now, for some reason, and maybe it is the elbow or the shoulder or whatever, a lot of the plays he kind of fucks up is not really like throwing. It's kind of feel like it's like mental, kind of like throw the ball here, but you threw it here. He's now at -3 outs above average at shortstop.
Yeah.
His saving grace was platinum glove level defense. He's not hitting. He can't get on base, so he can't steal bases, and he's not playing defense.
Yeah.
He's been, a negative for the past, month and a half? 2 months, maybe?
I think month, ever since he got hit in the elbow, really.
Yeah, since he got hit, we'll call it that. So past month, and again, to your point, maybe that is the shoulder, the elbow is a area of concern, but yeah, you just kind of need to ride it out. There's not really much else you could do. Again, you want Oswald Peraza playing shortstop?
No. Right. Who are you trading for? They'll play shortstop. Okay, you replace Anthony Volpe, but now you still have a glaring hole at third base.
Right. You can't trade for a third baseman, a shortstop, starter, a bullpen guy, maybe
a bullpen guy. No, you need two or three.
Multiple, right? 2 or 3 bullpen guys. You can't make 5 or 6 moves at the trade deadline. That's just not how it works.
Yeah.
And if you need to do that, then you're a flawed team. That
then
shouldn't be in this position.
You shouldn't be buying.
Correct. So again, until you have a better option, I will agree with you on that. You just have to ride it out.
It's not even like you have an option that's remotely close to arguable either.
Right.
But anyways, I just want to get into the look ahead, because I'm not even going to talk about the bullpen. They've been absolutely atrocious the last week and a half, whatever you want. Way too much to go into there. And they're probably going to trade for a guy within the next couple of weeks. The only thing I could say, you better trade for those guys. You better get at least 2 arms, or else I'm very concerned about this bullpen. But really quickly, look ahead against the Mariners. You got Will Warren versus Logan Gilbert. Will Warren had a horrendous start against the Blue Jays. He put up, I think, 8 runs in the first inning. 7 in the first, 1 in the second. So it was 8 runs over the first 2 innings. And then you got Cam Schlittler versus Logan Evans. He's making his MLB debut in Cam on Wednesday. Mark Sturman versus Brian Wu on Thursday. But getting into Schlittler, so this year across AA and AAA, 11.62 strikeouts per 9, 2.82 ERA, 2.52 FIP, 2.69 FIP, expected FIP. Fastball kind of average around 94, 95, tops out at 98. Really good breaking balls with a sweeper and a curveball. The changeup, this is scouting reports based off MLB.com. The scouting the changeup is good when it breaks. It just needs a lot more consistency. It'll hang up too much, won't really break. That's his fourth pitch. Really just got to get more consistent with that. Curious how working with Matt Blake every day change that. Also, just with people are like, oh, I've never heard of this guy. Where's he? He was a 7th round pick in 2022. Wasn't really the highest profile of guys. Just got better and better every year. So that's going to be him. You really got to hope he does something solid, because if you then lose a series to the Mariners, it's just because then you're getting into the aspect where you're 2-1 against the Mariners. If you go 3-3, and then that gets into potential wild card stuff, then that just becomes such a mess. So you have to win this series. It's very important. Then you got 3 against the Cubs, where you do get lucky because you have Carlos Rodon and Max Fried pitching against Chris Flexen, Matthew Boyd. But then you get Will Warren versus Shota Imanaga. So you really got to win those Fried and Rodon starts. I will be there on that Friday for the Rodon start because it's Billy Joel bobblehead day. And you will be damn sure I'm getting that bobblehead. I will fight a toddler for that bobblehead. I do not care. Men, women, or children, I'll kill them all.
Whoa.
Just a little peacemaker, but
in Minecraft.
In Minecraft, yeah. Hypothetically.
In Minecraft.
Yeah. That's all I had for the Bronx. Figure this shit out. You got 1 week to the All-Star break. Win the series against the Mariners. If you can win against the Cubs, great. If not, just don't get embarrassed. Because the Cubs are hitting the absolute shit out of the baseball.
Yeah, the Cubs are weakest in the rotation, so it's if you want to win, it's going to be a slugfest, likely.
Yeah.
But honestly, you just got to play well up into the break and just take the week off, relax, and then get to it when you start up after the break. Because then you got trade deadline like a week and a half after that, 2 weeks. So, but if that's all you had, we'll head on over to Queens.
Now entering Queens.
Hello, everybody. Welcome back to Queens, where the Mets finish off a 4-2 week, much better than their previous weeks against 2 pretty good teams. Maybe, well, at least one. Obviously, won the Subway Series against the Yankees, and then took this series from the Brewers. Just an absolutely huge series, especially with a doubleheader in the middle there. But before we get into that, of course, your Triboro MD injury report, and it's gonna be a unfortunate one. Paul Blackburn is hurt, shoulder impingement. He'll be out the remainder of the first half. Hopefully, be back by the time the break is over. Jose Buto with an illness undisclosed. Carlos said for his privacy that he would not disclose what the illness is, but they expect him to be back after the All-Star break. And then Daniel Nunez has a sprained elbow. Tommy John is a possibility through getting, I think, further testing and second opinions and all that. Nunez went down last year with, I believe it was a flexor strain, and they kind of just rested and rehabbed it. And obviously he didn't look that good when he first came up, but this past week he looked a lot better. Past 2 weeks, really. But just sucks. Sprained elbow. Hopefully he can avoid Tommy John, but we'll see. Sean Manaea will have one more rehab start and then could pitch in Kansas City this weekend. Kodai Senga made a rehab start over the weekend. He's going to throw a bullpen sometime earlier this week, and if all is well, could start this weekend as well. And then Jesse Winker should be activated today. I just saw Martino mentioned he will be activated. So, and Ronnie Mauricio will not be going down. So that is either a Travis Jankowski DFA or the last injury or possible injury. Starling Marte kind of tweaked his knee at the end of Sunday's game in against the Yankees. So, not sure what that's about. again, that is a possibility as well. It could be an IL stint for Marte. Maybe just rest him for the last week and get him back after the break. But Ronnie Mauricio will stay. It's going to be a little interesting seeing how the playing time is going to kind of unfold. Kind of similar to what the Yankees are going through. They have a lot of guys that can play in multiple positions. Brett Beatty, third base and second base. Ron Mauricio, the same thing. He also plays shortstop. As of right now, it kind of just seems like Mark Vientos is the odd man out. He has been DHing, playing some third base, but he's still not good defensively, and he's still not hitting, and he obviously doesn't provide anything on the base paths. So it's getting I'm getting a little concerned about Mark Vientos. It's now July. He did miss about 3-ish weeks with the hamstring strain, but he didn't look good before. Hasn't looked good since he got reactivated. He did hit, I think it was on Saturday, he hit like 3 balls pretty well, a couple like 100-mile-an-hour lineouts. I know one was a worm killer, so whatever, but hopefully that's something, because Mark Vientos does not have any options, and he is most likely going to be on this team, so he's got to show something. I forgot to get this.
You could do it. You could do it.
Thank you.
Yeah, it really is kind of crazy to think about how going into the year we saw Vientos as like everyday player. He would be kind of like that 4th, 5th best guy in the lineup that you knew you could count on every single day, day in, day out. And yeah.
Anything but that.
This just goes to show why you can't bank on those guys after they have one good year, because this happens all the time in baseball.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was obviously concern for kind of like his archetype
profile.
I guess profile is just a better way to put it. There was some concern of his profile last year. Obviously the strikeouts, the whiffs, the chases. He doesn't have elite bat speed. He doesn't really take walks, but he's still ranked above average in expected weighted on base. Expected slugging is 84th percentile. Average ice velocity is 82nd. Barrel is 92. Hard hit is 80. So it's like, all right, he hits the ball hard. That should be fine. You can kind of deal with the strikeouts. Over the offseason, I kind of compared him to Brent Rooker, where you take the strikeouts, you take the whiffs, you take the chases, but when he hits the ball, he hits it hard. This year, bottom 20% in expected weight on base average, expecting batting average, expected slug. He still has an above average exit velocity, 31st percentile on barrel, 71st in hard hit rate, but he's not squaring things up. His bat speed went down. He's still chasing. He's still whiffing. He's striking out a little less. He still doesn't take any walks. And he's just a horrid defender at third base. I honestly I'm not sure where we go with Mark Vientos, because again, he does not have any options. He will be on this team. It's kind of just one of those things where you hope he kind of just figures it out, because there's not really seeing anything that's like, oh, he just needs to do this. Like last year, crushed fastballs, absolutely crushed them. Where am I looking at the right one? Yes. 673 expected slugging, a 300 expecting batting average, a 443 expected weighted on base against fastballs. It's a 13 run value. This year, 233 expected batting average, 394 expected slug, 270 expected weighted on base for a 0 run value. And he's seeing it still. He's still seeing fastballs most of the time, 26.6% of the time. He's just not catching up to them for some reason. And again, I'm not sure what it is. I truly think we're at the point where you kind of just hope he figures it out, because I don't think there's one thing you could point at and just say he needs to fix this and maybe we'll be all right.
This will either be one of those things of this is the start of the end, or this is a very good article for Anthony DeComo in 2 months when the Mets are in the playoffs. They're the only two. How there's one thing that one slight small conversation or him playing a video game turned his season around.
Right. This one thing's turned around Mark Vientos this season. But yeah, it sucks. It really does, because we saw it last year. We saw it in the playoffs. This guy can hit. It's in there. It's somewhere. The player we saw last year is somewhere. Just, I'm not sure where it is. I really don't. It really sucks to see, because if he could hit, then the lineup looks a lot better. But as of right now, it's gotten better, definitely, but it's still a little ways to go. But moving on from that discussion, going back to the Brewers series, the first game on Tuesday got rained out, so there's a doubleheader on Wednesday. First game, atrocious, horrible. I hated it. Reed Garrett blows up in the 6th, 5th inning, something like that. It's completely shits the bed, shits down his leg. So what the Mets do for game 2, Mendoza goes to over-reliable, switches up the lineup, puts Brandon Nimmo at leadoff, and puts Francisco Lindor in the 2-hole. And then the Mets score 5 runs off of Jacob Misiorowski, who has been nearly unhittable to start his MLB career, because of course he does. Brandon Nimmo hits his first grand slam of the week, obviously the second one coming in the Subway Series. I just find it so funny how every time Mendoza kind of just switches up the lineup, it works. So far, they've kind of been sticking to that. Marte's been leading off against lefties. I don't like it, but it keeps working. So what do I know? I just kind of, I wish there was just some more stability with the lineup. Like, just leave Brandon Nimmo at leadoff and then do everything else. But again, I don't like Starling Marte leadoff, but it's been working, so whatever. So they won that game. And then the third game was just a good old-fashioned pitcher's duel between David Peterson and Jose Quintana. The Mets won that game 3-2. Quintana pitched super well against the Mets. I mean, he's just a solid pitcher. I miss Quintana, but I think it was the right move to move on from him. But David Peterson looked much better. He went 6 2/3, 5 hits, 2 runs, only 1 earned, 3 walks and 4 strikeouts. And then the scoring, Brandon Nimmo hit another home run. Juan Soto coming through to untie the game. And then Pete Alonso bringing him home for the 3-2 lead. Edwin Diaz then comes in and shuts the door. And the Mets win the series against one of the hottest teams in baseball. The Brewers just always know what to do. They always just kind of have, They always just are in the thick of it every single year. But, and I will also mention that Luis Torrens, with an absolute dart of a throw to get Christian Yelich in the 9th inning to get the second out of the inning, overturned upon review. Completely shocked it was overturned, but I will take it. But no, just a much better series overall. It kind of gave them some momentum heading to the Subway Series, and then we saw how it played out. But yeah, I mean, this team still has some glaring issues. I think the bullpen and the pitching staff in general is one of them. The bullpen desperately needs some stability, or like just the entire pitching staff needs some stability. I forgot what it was, but I think it was a few days ago. It's like the Mets have gone 9 straight days with making a roster move. You know, it's calling up a guy, he gets used, you need a fresh arm, he's sent down, call up another guy, rinse and repeat. And then you add the injuries on top of that, rinse and repeat. Like currently, on the IL, the Mets have 4 guys who, when healthy, will be on this major league roster, or you would assume. Excuse me. I meant, 3 guys, excuse me. Jose Butto, with the illness, he should be back. Max Kranick has a strained elbow. I'm not sure when he will be back. But again, you would assume when he's healthy, he'll be back. And obviously, Brooks Raley is still rehabbing. When he's healthy, he should be back as well. So that's 3 guys, that will replace the Chris Davinsky's, the Zach Pops, the Rico Garcias of the bullpen. And then with the starting rotation, obviously you should be getting Manaea back this week, and you should be getting Senga back this week, which is absolutely huge. So you will now finally have, if all goes well, you should have the projected rotation from the offseason being Kodai Senga, Sean Manaea, David Peterson, Clay Holmes, and Frankie Montas. The 5 guys you wanted to go into the year should hopefully all be healthy in the rotation after this week. And really, the last thing I have, there's really not much else to talk about. I love Luis Torrens. Don't get me wrong. He really hasn't hit in like 2 months. Alvarez has been hitting quite well in Syracuse. Also helping out top prospect Brandon Sproat. Had his best 2 starts in AAA with Alvarez catching. So that's something. But currently in AAA, Alvarez has... Wow, I thought he was hitting a lot better. Excuse me. Maybe it's just from just like his rehab. But I mean, he has a 99 weighted runs created plus. He has 4 home runs in, 12 games. But, yeah, I just hope to God when Alvarez comes back, he can hit and just kind of be a little bit more of a force in the bottom of the lineup, because that's been like the biggest bugaboo for the Mets, just that bottom of the lineup between Mark Vientos, Luis Torrens, Brett Beatty, Ronnie Mauricio, Tyrone Taylor. Kind of like just after that 5th spot in the lineup, just a steep drop off. But I will say, Brett Beatty gives me like a level of comfortability that it's not just going to be like a waste of an at-bat. He kind of just, he's starting to walk a little. He takes good at-bats. You know, he hit the home run against Ian Hamilton, the Subway Series. And I do feel like he's kind of made his spot on this team. I mean, this might just be what Brett Beatty can be for this team, just a versatile guy who will run into 15 to 20 home runs, maybe hit like, I don't know, 250 with like a near 740 OPS, like a league average hitter. That's all you can ask for. Ronnie Mauricio, on the other hand, has looked good against righties, not so good against lefties. He will continue to get chances, seeing that he survived the Jesse Winker activation. But, you know, it come the trade deadline, Justin. Do you think one of these guys kind of solidifies himself at third base? Or do you think the Mets should be looking at a third baseman at the trade deadline?
I don't think they should, only because I feel like you could use more help in the bullpen. Obviously, I think the Mets' probably number one need, and correct me if I'm wrong, would just be depth in the starting rotation. Just because you have so many guys that are just going down that it's the nature of pitching that you can never have enough starters. And there's not really that many third basemen out there, so I think it kind of would be a little too rich for the Mets, to the point where I don't think they want to be swimming in the waters they would have to be to get a third baseman.
Yeah, I think that's a fair assessment, because besides, besides Eugenio Suarez, not really sure who is available at that position. I think they could use a center fielder more than they can a third baseman. I do think someone like Brett Beatty, with the way he's been playing, I think you can ride out the season with him at third base, at least providing really good defense. You know, again, running to a few home runs and kind of just, you know, getting 1 to 2 hits every night. I think he can kind of live with that. So I think, the depth is certainly an issue now. I mean, it wasn't before, but now that Paul Blackburn's hurt, Griffin Canning's going to miss the rest of the season. Tyler McGill has a sprained elbow. I'm not sure when he's going to be back. But, you will get Sean Manaea, you will get Kodai Senga back. So that pushes back down, to Justin Hageman, the Brandon Waddells. That pushes back down to the depth. But I also just don't know how the trade deadline is going to go. There's really not a lot of, as of right now, there's not a lot of teams that are kind of not itching to trade, but there's no real sellers. It's the bad teams, but they're bad for a reason, right? So not really sure how that's going to go, but I do agree that I think one of these guys will kind of take third base, I think, and hope. Because kind of like what I said with the Yankees, if you need to make 5 to 6 moves at the trade deadline, then you shouldn't be buying in the first place. But yeah, that's really all I had. We'll just quickly do the look ahead. You got to finish off the first half. You got 3 in Baltimore. Clay Holmes versus Brandon Young. David Peterson versus Tomoyuki Sagano. Justin Hageman, maybe. You're not really sure what the Mets are going to do on Wednesday. No, that's going to be Thursday. Not sure what the Mets are going to do on Thursday just yet, but they'll be going up against Charlie Morton. And then you finish off the first half of 3 in Kansas City. You got either one of Montas or Senga will start Friday. Whoever doesn't start Friday will start Saturday. So you got Montas or Senga versus Waka. Whoever doesn't start versus Lorenzen on Saturday. And then it sounds like Clay Holmes is going to start Sunday. I just saw a report by Mike Puma of the New York Post. Clay Holmes will start Sunday, and then Sean and I will piggyback off of him just to get his throwing in, I suppose, and so that Clay Holmes doesn't have a long layoff between this start and the All-Star break. But Baltimore, disappointing season. They've been playing better as of late, but the pitching is absolutely vulnerable. You should be able to kind of take advantage of the poor starters. Charlie Morton's been pitching better, but you should be able to take advantage of that. And then the Kansas City Royals just are not a good hitting team. Solid starters. Michael Waka, Lorenzen, and Noah Cameron are all solid starters. Excuse me. So just, win the series, win both, finish strong, and call it a first half, and go enjoy your time off. Besides Lindor, Alonso, and Diaz, who are your Mets All-Stars, and no Juan Soto for the All-Star game, which I thought was a little bit of a surprise, but whatever.
I feel like All-Star.
Okay.
I was gonna say things with the All-Star game is it really is as simple as it matters so much how you start, because the perception around Soto was so bad because of that. Like, you even look at Acuna, who he barely has played, but he came out of the gate swinging. Came out hot, so that's what's sticking in people's minds. They're not going to look at who cooled down, who this, but...
Yep, no, definitely. But, Juan Soto now has a 900 OPS on the season. His WRC plus is up to 150. Yeah, 155. It's Juan Soto. He's fine. Shocker. Mm-hmm. But if you had anything to kind of wrap up the Mets, anything to add, anything at all? Absolutely not. Sounds good. So, with that being said, thank you guys for listening. Thank you guys for watching. If you're watching on YouTube, subscribe, leave us a comment. What do you think? What are your thoughts? What do you want these teams to do at the trade deadline? What would you like them to change? Anything like that. If you're listening to us on Spotify, Apple Podcast, follow us so you never miss an episode. Leave us a rating. Leave us a review. Helps us out. Lets us know you're enjoying the show. And follow all of our social media accounts at Triboro Podcast. Instagram, TikTok, Twitter, Facebook, all that good stuff. Post lineups, post final scores every single day. So get your daily fix of Mets and Yankees there. But with that being said, thank you again. And we'll see you next week for the last episode of the first half. See you then.